All right. So, Dr. McKenna, one of the things we've been hearing a lot about and seeing a lot of chatter on the web is about focusing on potential. And so often it's this kind of pithy cliche, these are tough times, but look for the opportunity. Focus on potential is one of the key strategies that your couple decades of research has shown can keep us anchored and secure in the midst of uncertainty and pressure right now. Could you share a little bit about what you mean when you talk about focusing on potential as a strategy for leaders in this season?
Yeah, so I know this may not have been part of your question, but you won't surprise you when I go here. Is that I've been fighting with actually a doctoral student of mine for for the last several years on the concept of hope, and one of the reasons is that hope in so much of the literature, the organizational literature, it looks a lot like goal setting. So it looks so much like, just set a goal and that brings you hope. So if you have the pathway in place, there's hope in that. And I really been fighting against that. But then when I started to think about it, I realized that I think pathways does play a key role, like in my own experience of it. And even as her research emerged and some of the deeper things around the kinds of support around us that provide hope, that they were support networks that actually have pathways. They aren't just kind of feel good networks, but they're people who actually help us see a pathway forward into a new positive possibility on the horizon. And so I think especially right now, while, Daniel, you and I deal with so many folks who might think that, oh, words like hope are not organizationally appropriate, hope, love, and faith and those kinds of things, that in seasons like we're dealing with now, they seem incredibly relevant. Like we are looking for hope at the end of this, and even in a daily moment of our lives. And so I think one of the things that you and I talk about so often is that a focus on potential is it's not optimism. So it's not blind optimism sort of in a squishy sense, but it's seeing actual positive potential realities on the horizon that could come about. And from a leadership perspective, being able to identify those things. I think what's really interesting is that backing up from the identification of those positive potential futures is actually starting to think about, so what are the pathways that I could even put in place today that would begin to build hope, not with hope being the goal, but put the pathways in place to something with a better possible future that could actually serve me and other people in ways I can't imagine. If I started on those pathways today, could it even provide hope today? I mean, literally today. I don't mean like today, in that sense. So I hope that.
No, I love that it's not just blind optimism. It's not, half glass full, half glass empty. I think you've often said it's I've got half a glass. What do I do with it? And one of the things that we did as a team a few weeks ago as the onset of this pandemic was happening was we quite literally sat down as a team over video. And I remember we took about 10, 15 minutes each and we said, what are the positive potentials or the pathways? What are the opportunities or things that are opened up now that this has created, or that were always there, but we never had eyes to see? And so we each built a long list. And they had crazy things, they had realistic things, and then together we each shared our lists. And as we each shared the list, as you shared your list, I was able to add ideas in, and vice versa. And I mean, we came up with a massive list of potentials. And most of those things, the reality is just time and energy and realities we're not going to do. But there were a couple things that I think could be, and we're seeing are game changing in the way we do business. But at that moment, we don't know, they're untested. But to what you were saying, I left that meeting knowing that there were things that we could do. It gave me back agency and gave me pathways to hope or potential. And so I like the way you're framing it. And it could be as simple as identifying what are the things that specifically could change in the midst of this, and not just leaving it as a blind optimism or a fluffy mindset. This is more than a mindset. It includes that, but it's actually taking pen to paper and creating pathways and actions. So that's awesome. Rob, thank you for sharing that. And excited for how we are continuing to do that ourselves, and then partnering with people to create that conversation in the midst of these uncertain times. Not dismissing the challenges that are out there, but leaning into them and seeing if there is something that could come of it.
For sure.